You're grinding every day. Long hours, no backup, no accountability. That ends now. The Empower Solopreneur Mastermind gives you one simple advantage: a weekly power session that turns isolation into domination. Every Friday morning on Zoom, you'll get real coaching and real feedback to make real moves. Join a group of driven professionals in a program designed for solopreneurs and people working at home. Stop getting stuck. Start scaling. Seats are limited. Lock in yours today at modernobserver.com/empower-mastermind.
Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase, the podcast that helps you succeed in your business life and career. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, with the Modern Observer Group, and with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
I'm doing wonderful. Happy New Year, Eric.
Happy New Year. Yes, this is our first podcast of the new year, and that's actually what we're going to be talking about is what can you do to make 2026 your best year ever? And we're going to talk about this in personal terms, business terms. There's so much you can do, and so much of it is really so easy.
Yeah, basically, it's a fresh start. So, we've talked about getting organized and writing down plans and so on and so forth, the personal side of things. And obviously, it does start with time management for yourself, setting up a few goals and just digging right into them and tracking them and measuring them and all those kind of things that we've talked about in several different podcasts last year. So,
yes, goal setting is step number one. You want 2026 to be your best year. You have to define what that means. What is it that you want to accomplish? And you should really think about it in different categories. What do you want to do with your family? What do you want to do about your health? What do you want to do with your business or career? What about your finances? Look at each thing individually and figure out what it is you want to do. And even more so than just setting a goal, we've talked a lot about goals, but I always have my clients think about this at the beginning of the year. Think about it now that it's December 31st, 2026. What does your life look like? Visualize it. Imagine what your house looks like, what your job looks like. Monday morning, what are you doing when you go to work? The more details you can visualize, the more you can go, oh, okay, this is what I really want to be.
Yeah, that sounds like a great strategy as far as putting this together. And what we talked about so many times is you mentioned goal setting for every aspect of your life. It's not just your business, because everything has to mesh together, time management wise, and so on and so forth. And the best thing to do is to just start writing these things down in an organized fashion. You know me, I'm the spreadsheet nerd, so I put it in Excel spreadsheets, and then I just have columns for personal, for business, for this and that, whatever, so I can sort things out. But I know that there's software out there that you can do that. But just as you said, visualize 12/31/26, and there's different things that you want to have then. And if you have them written down on paper, then you can start figuring out how to do them step by step. But step number one is to just get it down on paper.
Right. And how you set it up doesn't matter. As you said, you like using spreadsheets. You can use a pad and pen, a notebook. There's mind mapping software, goal setting software. You can use that. Or get yourself a magnetic whiteboard. Write it out on the whiteboard. Put up pictures of create a vision board of what you want to accomplish. However it works for you, there is no wrong answer to that. The only wrong answer is not to do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And just by getting started on it and getting something somewhere in front of you, that's step number one. And if you can do this every single day, map out your time blocks to do that, like we've talked about in the past, and you have a great system for doing that. But it's just so, so important. But time starts now. I mean, this is the first Monday of the year, so everybody's been cruising for the first 4 days, and time to get going.
That's it. Jump right in. So, yeah, once you figured out what you want your 2026 to look like, then it's time to start moving. And that's really the key. Don't spend a lot of time planning it out. Figure out what you want to do. Start. Doesn't matter where you start, just start doing something. You can always go, okay, you know what? This isn't working. Let me try something else. But take action. That's what sets successful people apart. They don't wait to do something. They don't, oh, I'll do it next week. Oh, I'll start in June. No, start now. And the faster you get moving, the faster you'll see accomplishments. There is a fantastic book called The 12-Week Year, and it talks about treating every 12 weeks as though it's a year. So I said, think about it, what you want your life to look like December 31st. For 12 weeks, it's what do you want it to look like April 1st? Take it quarter by quarter and treat every week as though it's a month. So you don't have the time to dilly-dally. You don't have the time to procrastinate. Just get moving.
Yeah, that's a great strategy too. I mean, we do this with our Chamber of Commerce. Basically, we map out quarterly goals because the bottom line is with your business, things are going to go up and down during the year. And if you can take a look and see when your busy times are, when you have certain events and so on and so forth, and you map those all out, then you can really, really put in there what your projected income is for that, what kind of work you got to do for that, and so on and so forth. It's really, really important to get your team involved with this too. Obviously, if you have a business where you have employees, it's so, so important to get them involved in the whole process from the very, very beginning. So,
absolutely. Something to remember is that you're not in this alone. If you have a business, you may have employees, you may have coworkers. If you're talking about personal goals, your family, your friends, share these goals with them. Share what you want to do. Find out what they want to do. It's if you have corresponding goals, it's easier to do them with others. For business, you can set up a mastermind group. We actually facilitate mastermind groups at my company. So, they're fantastic tools. In terms of family, do things together. If your goal is to go on vacation, plan it as a family. If you want to lose weight, if you have other friends that want to lose weight, do it together. Challenge each other, support each other. It's always easier to do things with other people.
no, and obviously, if you're doing it with other people, your morale is going to be a whole lot better, as is theirs, because basically you're going to be each other's cheerleaders, pumping each other up. And that's what life is all about. I mean, we talk so many times about life just being relationships are the most important thing. Relationships with yourself, starting with yourself, but relationships with your friends, with your family, with your business associates. And the more that you are involved with them along the journey, that's so, so important. I know right before we finished off last year, you talked about the importance of reaching out to people that you haven't reached out to for a long time just to get the ball rolling again. And the toughest thing to do is to get started. But once you do get started and you get into that as a habit, which we've talked about before, developing habits, that's what it's all about. But if you want to go by it yourself, you're going to be a very lonely person, even if you are successful. So it's just so, so important to get other people involved to just share with you what's going on. And you're going to be sharing with them. And it's just a win-win. And that's the way things are really supposed to be, not the way things are perceived with all the outside media and so on and so forth. That's this, that, and whatever, status, power, accomplishments, and so on and so forth. No, the bottom line is happiness comes first. And that is a result everything else comes from that.
Absolutely. And no matter what your goal is, start at the beginning. Figure out what it is you're going to need to actually accomplish the goal. Do you need to learn a new skill to get it done? Do you need to buy more supplies? Whatever it is, figure it out and again, take action. Now, regardless of what type of goal you're looking at, it all starts with you. So one of the first things you should be doing once you've figured out what it is you want to accomplish is make sure you're taking care of yourself, your body, your mind. It is so important. And it's the one thing that most people neglect. And it starts with your health, both physical and mental. So get up and move. Get a little more exercise this year. You don't have time to exercise when you're running errands. Park at the far end of the parking lot and walk to where you're going. Little things. You go into a building, don't take the elevator, take the stairs. Just these little things can help you feel better. Pay attention to what you're eating. If you can cut down on certain things, sugars, artificial colors, artificial flavors, pay attention to what you're putting in your body. You really do need to think about food as fuel. If you put the wrong fuel in your car, it doesn't run right. The same thing goes for your body. You have to be careful about what you're putting into it. And the more you take care of yourself, even if it's just little steps, the better you'll feel and the more you'll be able to accomplish because you'll have more energy, you'll be healthier. Now, your mental health is also important. And one of the greatest things I've heard people doing is a digital detox. Take 24 hours, take, even better, a full weekend, and leave your phone off. Leave your tablet, your computer off. You'd be amazed. And it's actually very difficult to do at first, but once you get used to it, it becomes invaluable. Shut down all of the distractions that hit us all day long. And then once you've done a detox for the first time, even if it's just, 5 or 6 hours, think about all of the notifications you get on your phone and think, how many of them do you actually need? Do you really need Facebook's constant notifications? I can see notifications for phone calls and texts. Sure, you leave those on. But look at what you're getting. When you put an app on your phone or your tablet, almost every one of them asks, this app would like permission to send you notifications. For a lot of people, the default is yes, send me the notifications. Your default should be no. You should only turn on notifications if they're really important. There is nothing that Netflix is going to send you that can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. I just told you before we got on that my wife got me an iPad for Christmas, and obviously loading apps and so on and so forth I just automatically just turn those things off, period. But you mentioned getting into a healthy state physically and mentally. This is a time of year. It's really, really funny. If you go to the gym this week, it's absolutely full. By the end of the month, a lot of people, it's back to empty again. So the people who have signed up and really using it, that's what it is. However, what you can do, all we have is the present moment. And you mentioned just getting up every morning. We talked about the miracle morning and just having a morning routine to do some exercise and so on and so forth. And it's just so critical to just start your day with that, both mentally to detox yourself that way and physically. And if you spend a half an hour every morning just setting the tone for the rest of the day with some positive exercise, and I'm talking very simple, could be just taking a walk, even inside your house if it's snowing outside, or it could be just doing a couple of other things. Put together a little routine. If you want some advice on that, then you can go to YouTube and look up, and there's probably a million videos on how to do those kind of things too. But just get started doing something and have a glass of water every single morning, have a healthy breakfast every morning. And if you start every day right and you finish every day in contemplation and gratitude for what's happened during the day, those are the two most important parts of the day, because you set the tone in the morning, and whatever you do before you go to bed, that's what you sleep on. So if you want a cycle of, oh, yuck, then start watching TV and looking at all the news and so on and so forth right before you go to bed. If you want a positive day tomorrow morning, take a look at some family pictures or some videos and so on and so forth, and just write a gratitude journal, everything that you're grateful for in life. It could be stuff going on in your business or with people and so on. But if you contemplate on that, that's so important. And these are things that anybody can do very easily, regardless of what state of mind you're in right now, mentally, physically, and so on and so forth. There are little things that you can do to get things going today without waving a magic wand and saying, I'm going to the gym for a month and I'm going to lose 20 pounds.
Right. And, you just mentioned starting your day with a glass of water. The vast majority of people actually do not drink enough water. So that is a very simple thing you can do to help your health. Just drink a bit more water. You'll find it helps detox you, it helps clean you out, and it also, one, gives you more energy, and two, helps fill you up so you're not snacking so much. So, grab an extra glass of water a day. Make sure you're keeping hydrated, because that's a lot more important to your health than most people realize. And when you start this, sticking with it is very important. I actually had this conversation earlier today with someone. She was all upset because basically first day of the year, she's already missed going to the gym in the morning. She says she's got to start, keeping that. She goes, well, maybe I'll get a habit journal, or maybe I'll do this. I said, keep it simple. Grab a calendar. You have one goal: get to the gym each morning. Every day you do it, you cross off the day. When you cross off 5 in a row, you give yourself a reward. You keep going. You cross off 15 in a row, you give yourself a reward. And challenge yourself. Make it a game. There's a science of gamification, and it works for a reason. We respond to challenges in games. So make sticking with it a game. If you do 5 days in a row, you get to have, a treat. You do 30 days in a row, maybe you buy yourself a gift. Whatever the reward is that works for you. But challenge yourself to keep it going and reward yourself when you do.
Yeah, that's fantastic strategy. And we talked about the power of other people too. If you have other people that want to do the same thing this year, do it along with them. Do it with them every day. That you have automatically built-in accountability partners. And the bottom line is, it's a powerful thing to do, to be doing that with more people than just you, because the accountability is automatically there if you don't show up.
And also, when you're trying to do things, especially if you're trying to do new things, make sure you have it work the way you work. When I decided to start working out, I knew, didn't matter what kind of great deal I got at the gym, I wasn't going. Simple fact of the matter is, as much as I used to love going to the gym, where I am now, it's not close enough to my house. I'm going to have to get there. The hours are not conducive to, my schedule. So I went out and I got myself a great pair of dumbbells. I've got some exercise equipment, and not expensive exercise equipment either. Um, I picked up the set of dumbbells at Walmart. I have an old heavy bag that I hit. To give you an idea of how old that is, I bought it at Kmart. You know, but you can get these things really inexpensively. And most of them, not the heavy bag so much, but most of the stuff can fit under your desk or fit under a chair. So it's not like it has to be in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, actually, you're looking at me in my gym, which is basically my family room, and everything along the wall, I can walk around this whole room and it's 25 steps unimpeded. And my morning routine is every single morning I get up and I do 80 laps of that, which is 2,000 steps, takes me about 20 minutes. And I have two 10-pound dumbbells sitting on my hall tree, and I just pick them up and do a set of curls and some squats and some lunges for 10 minutes a day. And that's it. After I have my glass of water, because it's really, really important to start with the glass of water. But that's my morning routine. And basically, I went to the gym for the first time in 2013, and I did that pretty good for like 2 or 3 or 4 years. And then I stopped going. And so I got into my daily routine at home. And basically, my only cost, I can't even remember how cheap those two 10-pound dumbbells are, but they're just sitting there. And I have maintained a very, very consistent weight, which is almost 70 pounds less than when it was when I started going to the gym and dropped a whole lot of weight. But I've been very, very consistent for the last several years just by doing that. And then sometimes during the day after this, I might go out for a walk outside in the afternoon for 10 to 30 minutes. And that's it. And it just keeps me a heck of a lot sharper and in shape, loose, and so on and so forth. And it's really not a big deal. I mean, obviously, if you're going to a gym, there's a time commitment, as you're saying, getting there and coming home, which is sometimes longer than your actual workout. And so if you don't have the time to do that, you can set something up really good at home. And obviously, there's a lot of people out there that you can get advice from as far as that goes too. And there are also businesses now where the trainers will come to your house and train you at your house if you want to do that too.
Right. And that's actually a good segue into what I wanted to talk about next, because up to now, we've been talking about some fairly small things, very simple, very inexpensive. But let's face it, a lot of us want to do things that are going to be a little more expensive. Scheduling a vacation, hiring a private trainer, things like that. And if your business, everything runs on money. You have to have financial goals. So when you figure out what it is you want to do, don't go in blindly. Actually go research how much money do I need to make this happen? If you don't know how much it's going to be, you're never going to feel like you have enough to actually schedule it. So flip the script, make the plan, figure out, find out exactly what it's going to be. I know loads of people who, no matter what they want to plan, they go, well, it's going to be too expensive. Have any of them ever looked into it? No. They've got no idea what it actually costs. They're just assuming it's too expensive. If you don't know, you can't take action. So find out what things are going to cost you. Figure out exactly how much money you need. And then, in terms of goals, once you figure out what things are going to cost, for the purpose of your goal, double that number and then go after it. Take action. If you're not going to get that money at your current job, figure out how you can. Can you do a side hustle? Can you get a promotion? Can you start a side business? If you're already in business, can you add new products or services? There's always ways that you can improve your situation, but it requires knowledge. You have to know how to improve your situation and by how much you have to do it. It requires action. You actually have to do it. You can't just sit there staring at your navel, hoping the universe is going to give you everything you need. You know, I think it was Ben Franklin that had the famous quote, God helps those who help themselves. You need to get things done. And it has never been easier to start a side hustle, to find a second string of income. And it doesn't have to be active. You don't necessarily need to do more jobs. You may need to just manage your money better. Talk to a financial advisor. If you're spending $5 a day on a Starbucks coffee, and quite frankly, a Starbucks coffee, if you can get it for $5, you're just getting the basics. If you're going there every day, you're spending a lot more. You're talking right there between $25 and $50 extra a week. Well, what happens? Investing has changed a lot. Now there are apps like Robinhood where you can actually buy a portion of a share. So instead of having to invest $5,000 to get started, you can literally start with $5. Now, what happens if you take the money that you were spending on Starbucks, put it into a brokerage account, dividend stocks that pay you money back every quarter, and you keep putting the money in? Well, guess what? Warren Buffett talks a lot about the power of compound interest. And I love, Warren Buffett actually retired as president of Berkshire Hathaway on December 31st. And the reports, when he took over Berkshire Hathaway, it was trading at $19 a share. Now, a Class A share goes for $750,000. This is what he did piece by piece, one day at a time. Guess what? You can do the same thing. And if you do, now I never recommend anybody invests without talking to an actual financial analyst, a financial planner, somebody who knows what they're doing. But if you're really nervous about investing, they have index funds that are tied to the market. So you can invest in the entire S&P 500 in one place. And you can start that with just a couple of dollars.
Yep. And even though the market always has its ups and downs, it always grows and grows and grows. And that's something. So, you got to have a little bit of a thick skin when things are going on and just trust the process. But one of the things we haven't talked about yet, which is really the key to the whole thing, is your own positive mindset. Because the reason that you can't get things done is because you don't think you can do that. And we've talked often about all we have is the present moment, and understanding that and realizing that every single present moment is an opportunity to do something positive. That's the key to it. Realizing life is always going to have ups and downs. But if you know that that positive moment is right there ahead of you, if you choose to do that, it's so, so important. And the key there is it is a choice. So when you're looking at everything in front of you, why I can't do this and why I can't do that and so on and so forth, you're doing that to yourself in the present moment. We talked often, take the word yes, but, which is the negative side of things, and change that but to an and for a whole week. If you say yes, but I can't do this, you say yes, and if I do this, something else is going to happen. Yes, and it's the spirit of collaboration with yourself. But if you do that with a group of people, that's how magic happens. So if you want to do one thing this year, just commit to having a positive mindset. Look in the mirror first thing in the morning and say, today, wherever I go, whatever I'm doing, I will be positive. Smile at yourself while you're doing that. Give yourself that high five that I've talked about before, because when you're doing that, You're forgetting about everything else, and just try and make every single moment a positive moment. Realizing you're going to mess up. You may mess up a moment at a time, a day at a time, or whatever. But if you know that you can go back to that, which is true reality and where we all came from, that's the key. So it starts in the mirror, and we talked about collaborating with others and planning and so on and so forth. But if that person in the mirror is not smiling at that person in the mirror every single morning, knowing that you can do that and can work at it today, it's not going to happen. If you go there every morning, say, "Oh no, it's another day." So
Yeah,
no Eeyores allowed.
right. Just remember the title of my last book. Yes, you can.
Perfect.
You can. And speaking of books, that is something that sets you apart. The average American does not read a single book over the course of the year. The average CEO reads 50 books a year. Start reading. Doesn't have to be something deep. Yes, if you have a love of history or science or psychology, whatever it is, certainly read about that. There's you can read on any topic, but you can even read about fiction. I actually just did. We just launched a new podcast on the Xvadio network, Premier Pop C, and our first interview was with New York Times bestselling author Jim Butcher, who wrote the Dresden Files. Now, the Dresden Files, for anybody who's not familiar with this, has nothing to do with reality. It is a magic using wizard who's also a private investigator. Okay? It's fun, but when you read the books, there's background stuff. And it can spur your imagination going, hey, I want to read about this. So read Tom Clancy, read Robert Ludlum, read Jim Butcher, whoever you want, whatever genre intrigues you. And then think about it. Go, wait a minute, you know what? I want to learn more about this. If you're reading a spy novel, read about the history of the CIA. If you like fantasy, learn a little bit about different religions. Start with what you're interested in, but don't stop. Keep reading. And doesn't matter the format. If you like the old paper books, use them. You want to read on your Kindle, your Nook, your iPad, do that. You want to listen to audio books while you're driving or while you're doing the dishes, do that. Doesn't matter how you get the information into you. The more you read, the more successful you'll be, and the more it sets you apart from the average.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've been doing for years is reading dailies. Basically, there are books out there that have a thought for the day, could be on whatever topic that you want. With me, I have Thomas Merton. I have a few other people. I have 6 different books that I read a segment every single day, and it's just a one-pager. Takes me about 10, 15 minutes a morning, and that's how I start every single day. And if you start doing that year after year, if you read something 2 or 3 times, a year later, things come back to you even more. But that's a great way to set the tone, and that's very, very easy to do if you're intimidated about picking up a 500-page book to read. If you just do a couple of pages a day, that's 6 really, really great books full of tips that I get better and better every single day just by going back there. And, it's just like reading, could be a Bible or anything else. But if you hear something twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, you're going to get something new out of that every single time that you do that. It's going to sink in. It will help you change your mindset towards things, unless you're reading something that's really, really negative, obviously. But that's a great way to get started. Just pick up a daily book, and this is a great time of year to do it. You can go online and just look up topics, daily things, and I'm sure you can get something here tomorrow from Amazon.
Yes, you can. The Lord knows there's no shortage of books, and there's more coming out every day. So find something you enjoy and start reading about it. Fact or fiction, it doesn't matter, because you're going to take something away from it no matter what it is. And having said that, we are just about out of our time. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for today?
Well, I love the way you started it. What does your day look like on December 31st, 2026? Start writing things down and working towards that, and get yourself into a daily routine where you're really, really focusing on that, starting with your own positive mindset, making sure that that person in the mirror is very, very much appreciated, because you are, whether you think you are or not, you are by the source from where we all came from. So happy 2026. And maybe we'll look forward to hearing from some of you folks at the end of the year who have used this session today.
Yes, that would be fantastic. I think for me, the big takeaway is really how easy it is to do. Start by figuring out what it is you want to accomplish. Write it down and take action. Track what you're doing. And I think most importantly, don't get discouraged. It doesn't matter if you're perfect. It just matters that you're making progress. Progress beats perfection every time. So take your time, get where you're going, but do it. Take the action. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch every episode at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.